Well, after we found out that my dad was diagnosed with pancreas cancer, um, life got rough, especially for my mother. Um, I noticed my dad started going to church like every Sunday. It became like a thing that we did like all the time. Let's go to church, let's go to church. And, I believe in God. I used to go to like little church events when I was little with some of my friends where we go to church, do Bible study, and then go play games. So I've always was like a little church girl. So I liked going to church, especially when I would go with my dad. It was fun. You get to go, he'd drink his coffee, and I'd get to eat the donuts and get to learn about our God. It was really fun, and just got to spend that time with my dad. Um, Time went on, and I was still going to school, doing everything I had to do. I was 10, so I really didn't understand the whole process of the pancreas cancer thing. I knew my dad was sick. I just didn't know how serious it was. My mom was more depressed. My dad ended up not going to work no more. He couldn't go to work. And I noticed changes in him. Like he was losing weight. Like his skin pigment was changing colors. He wasn't as energized as he used to be. It was just like taking a big toll on him. And I remember when they finally, my mom finally told me, she's like, well, you're going to be sleeping in the bed with me now because we got to move my bed out my room so we can move the hospital bed into my room. And that's how it's going to go. So I remember when that happened, once that happened, the situation in the family was a lot hard. We had a doctor nurse that came over every day to help take care of my dad and make sure he's gotten medicine, make sure everything's going good, this, that, and the other. And my mom was just depressed. Like she just wasn't there anymore. When things started getting worse, it got to a point where my dad couldn't really get out of bed. He was in a lot of pain. It was just rough. He was on so much medication, and me being the child, and I'm watching all this and watching my mom and seeing my dad. I didn't know what was going on. I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know the depth of exactly what was going on. I just know that everything hit the fan when the nurse was over there and I'm sitting in my mom's lap and the nurse is just talking to my mom and pretty much told my mom, he's not gonna make it. And sorry. My mom sat there and just started crying. And I'm just looking at her because I didn't know. So I didn't know like how to take that in, and like seeing my mom cry was just hard. So when I'm like, what's wrong? She didn't know how to tell me. Because I was only 10, so she didn't know exactly like how to tell me. after that news got told to her, as things started going downhill a little more, um, my dad started hallucinating. I remember sitting watching TV with him on the couch, and we used to have like this Arizona rug on this wall. My mom was in the kitchen cooking, and we were just sitting there, and my dad's all like, "Why is the rug moving?" And he's like watching it like as if it's moving into the kitchen. Like, I looked at him, and I'm like, "Dad, the rug's not moving." And she's all like, "Oh." So my mom comes into the living room and just looks, and it's just looks so sad, and then goes back to cooking. And then there's another time when I was in my room with him while he was laying down in the hospital bed, and he was just laying there, and then he's all like, "Ashley, you need to pick up all these beads you left on the floor." And there's no beads on the floor. I didn't leave nothing on the floor. And I went to say something, and my mom just looked at me and just shook her head no, like, "Don't say nothing. Just don't say nothing." And I didn't understand, but I'm just looking at her like, "Huh, but I didn't do nothing wrong." So I thought he was mad at me. So I go into my mom's bedroom, and on a piece of paper, I wrote down, "I love you," to my dad. And when he got his dinner that night, I put the "I love you" letter on his little food tray thing. And I go back into the room and I pray to God. I was like, "God, please help my dad. Please take away his pain. Do whatever you can to help my dad." And then the next thing I heard my dad cry. He was crying, and then he called me in there and it's like, "I love you too," and hugged me. And then I guess my mom realized like how hard it was getting for the kids and for everybody. So we had a day where everyone started coming over. Like a lot of people from the Air Force Base that my dad worked with, they were coming over to see my dad. Um, a lot of people besides my dad's mother, and some people from my dad's side of the family didn't even show. And then after that day, my mom had me and my brother go stay like 2 houses down at our babysitter's house. And we would stay there while she just took care of my dad and all that kind of stuff so we can focus on our school. So we were going to school, just doing everything. We'd probably see our dad like once a day, but then we'd go back over there. And then it was January 13th, 1997. I think I just got done doing my homework, and I was getting in the shower so I can get ready for bed. So I'm in the shower, singing, and then the babysitter knocked on the door and said, "Ashley, you need to hurry up. Your older brother and a family friend of ours that was with him was coming over." I have another brother too. I have 5 siblings, just so you know, if I get anybody confused. I had my little brother, my older brother, an older brother, and the 2 sisters. So me and my older brother were staying with the babysitters, and then my older brother was coming over with a family friend who used to babysit us too when we were little, but they were both on their way over, so she's like, "You need to hurry up and get out the shower." The moment she told me that, I kind of froze in the shower. Like, I had this feeling like that overcame me for one moment, like, and I froze and stood there for a minute and prayed. Like, God, please, don't let this be anything bad, blah, blah, blah. So, I get out the shower, dry up, do everything, and I walked out to the living room, and I see my brother crying, just bawling, and they all looked at me just crying, and they told me that my dad died, but he wanted us to tell you that he loves you guys. And it was like, right then and then, I was like hurt, but all at the same time I got pissed off at God. Because I was praying and I was praying, like, God, why would you do this? And when they had to go back, I ran outside because I wanted to go there. They're like, no, don't go. You don't need to go there right now. It's not where you need to be. And I stood outside just looking down at my house with the ambulance outside my house. And I couldn't even be there. That night, I remember crying myself to sleep. It it was hard. And the next day, everyone's like, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to school. But I was like, I'm going to go to school. I don't want to not go to school. So I walked to school. I get all the way to the school. Before you get into school, you have to stand on the sidewalk until the bell rings before you can go on school property. So I stood there for a minute, and I'm just thinking, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. So I turn around, I start walking back to the babysitter's house. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. And on the way back, my friend Katie and Jesse were walking towards school. And they're like, where are you going? When I get to walking past them, they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going back. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. And, they hug me like friends do. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This, that, and the other. And they're like, don't go. You have a lot of people that can support you. Just come on, let's just go to school. We'll just tell the principal and we'll just do this. So if you need to take a moment out of class, you can take a moment out of class, whatever. So with their support, I go back to school. And it was hard because I couldn't concentrate. Like, I was just blank-minded. Like, the whole time I was just sitting in class and just would stare off, trying hard not to think about it. But I just spent more time thinking, God, why? Why? I prayed. I mean, what's the point of prayer if you don't answer prayers? And some boy wanted to be a jerk. Me and him got in this little argument. I don't even know what the argument was about. But everybody knew my dad died. Obviously, it's out there now. Everybody knew. And this boy wanted to all of a sudden say, well, at least I have a dad. And I was like just devastated and started bawling. Went to the principal, told the principal what this boy said. It was just horrible. So I ended up getting the rest of the day off school after that. And Oh, it was just horrible. Horrible, horrible. So, after that first day of school, I think I took the next couple of days off until after the wake and the funeral. The wake came, and everyone was there. The family, people of my family that I didn't even really know, but there was a lot of people there. And um, I wouldn't go up to the casket. I wouldn't go up to the casket until my friend Jessie got there. And she was a little late, but everyone was like, do you want me to go up there with you? Do you want me to go up there with you? I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. And then finally my friend Jessie showed up. And I went up there with her. And that was the last time I got to see my dad. He was in his Air Force uniform, looking healthier than he did before he died. And then I kissed him on his cheek, and it just wasn't the same. I didn't really cry at the wake. My mom, I know, was like in pieces. I didn't even know how to help my mom. But after that, we had the funeral, and I think the funeral was the hardest for me, was the actual funeral. We had to go up, all the kids we had to go up there and put the flag over the casket because he's in the military, so we had the flag, and then we had to get the flag, whatever, and then the people folded it. The moment I had to get up was the moment I started bawling, because I think that was the moment when I realized he's gone. I'm not gonna see my dad ever again. And I just remember, like, that moment, and went outside and they did the gunshots and everything. After that, my mom put the house up for sale. It was time to move. A new beginning, new start. It was time to move. You know? Between the time before we ever did move, it was rough. Really rough. Not so for me. Well, it was for me. I mean, I had my friends, and they were really good to me. My friend Katie, she was very religious. Her whole family was very religious. They gave me this journal, and they said, use this journal to write to your dad. So every time I wrote in the journal, it was like, dear daddy, dear dad. It was my way of talking to dad. My brother, on the other hand, for some reason, I don't know why, the kids seemed to want to torment him in school, which was just, I didn't understand, like, kids then and their whole reasoning and why they would do that. But he had it rough. There was these two boys in school who just made it so hard for my brother. They just said mean things. Like, one of them was all like, I killed your dad type things, and I know why your dad is dead. So my brother had it rough, to the point my mom had to go down to school like, why aren't you guys doing anything with these children? My son is coming home crying every day. Like, this is not okay. This is like beyond I don't even know. But they were mean. Me, on the other hand, and then after that one boy said that stuff, I really didn't have none of that. My faith in God was gone. Ever since then, I was so pissed at God for taking my dad that I just stopped believing in him. Yeah. And then finally, our house sold. And we moved to Phoenix, Arizona to have our new beginning.